Hello, today we are going to discuss Unit 3 of block number 4, that is psychosocial changes taking place during early adulthood, middle age, and old age. Main heading, first one is introduction. The points I have noticed here are, in this unit we will be dealing with development during adult years. So in this unit we are dealing with the development during adult years. The period of adulthood is marked by society expectation of performing one's duty as an adult. So society expects some performances from an adult. Some special roles and relationship like family and career are the major milestone. So milestones of this period is family and relationship, special roles in relationship in family and career. So these are the 3 points. First one, the unit dealing with development during adulthood years, and there is expectation of society during this period, and there is relationship, special roles and relationship in family and career during this period. Next is the development during, next main heading is development during adult years. The points which I have noticed are, the spurt of growth during adolescence stabilized by adulthood, and the individual looks forward to more concrete roles in society. First point is, individuals looks for concrete roles in society. Second point, in Indian tradition, the period of adulthood is referred to grihasthashram. In Indian tradition, period of adulthood is referred to grihasthashram. Third one, perhaps middle adulthood is best known for the midlife. This is time of re-evaluation. This is the time of re-evaluation. Fourth point is, typically beginning in the early 40s, the crisis often occurs in responsible to a sense of mortality. A sense of mortality is arise during the adulthood. Other middle-aged adults prefer to reframe their experience by thinking of themselves as being in the prime of their lives rather than in their declining years. So middle age adult think that it is prime of their lives and than the declining years. The field of lifespan development seems to be moving away from normative crisis model to timing of events model. So the explain such events as the midlife transition and midlife crisis. So there is moving away from normative crisis model to timing of new events model. It is called as midlife transition. Next point is, during this stage, most individuals lost their jobs because of their retire from active service. They begin to fear about their physical and psychological health. Involvement in grandparenting helps elderly satisfy of their personal and emotional needs. Involvement in grandparenting helps elderly to satisfy their personal and emotional needs. Old people get self-satisfaction through the achievement of their young grandchildren during this period. So these are the points. First one is concrete roles in society. During this period there is concrete roles in society. Number 2, it is called as grihasthashram according to Indian culture. And third one is, it is a time of re-evaluation. Fourth one, sense of mortality taking place during this period. Fifth one is, they think it as the prime period of their lives and lives. Sixth one is, midlife transition and midlife crisis is taking place during this period. Seventh one is there is physical and psychological health fear during this period. And next point is people get satisfaction from grandparenting during this period, and they are also self satisfaction from the achievements of their grandchildren. So the first main heading is development during adult years. There is a subheading named stage theory versus contextual approach. In this, it is said that during adulthood, every individual passes through three major crises. Every individual passes through three major crises during adulthood. First crisis is integrity versus isolation. First crisis is integrity versus isolation. Second one is generativity versus absorption. And the third one is integrity versus despair. So, in the case of integrity versus isolation, during the late adolescence, the early adulthood, individual must develop ability to deep, intimate relationship with others. People who fail to resolve it successfully will live in isolation. So, during the late adolescence, early adolescence, individual must develop ability to form deep, intimate relationship with others. People who fail to resolve it successfully will live in isolation. Second point is generativity versus absorption. The need of individual to overcome selfish, self-centered concerns and to take an active interest in helping and guiding the next generation. After children have themselves grown up into adults, however, the tendency towards a generativity may involve serving as a mentor or guide for members of younger generation, helping them in their career and lives. Individuals who successfully resolve this crisis become absorbed in their own lives. The third point is integrity versus despair. During adulthood, some people reached many of their goals and they attain sense of integrity. If instead they find their lives to be lacking on such dimension, they may experience intense feeling of despair. So these are the three stages in adulthood a person going through. According to the stages theory, they are integrity versus isolation, generativity versus absorption, and the third one is integrity versus despair. Next subheading under the main heading development during adult years is contextual approach. According to the contextual theories, the development take careful account many of the difference that exist in one's life and situation. Contextual theory of development hold that the context or environment under which child grows that is more important than inbuilt mechanism. So contextual theory give importance to the environment in which the child grow than the inbuilt mechanism. Another most important contextual theory is by Bronfenbrenner, and he said that this ecological theory present social cultural view of development which focus on changing relation between individual and the environment in which they live. It consists of 5 environmental systems ranging from the individual's direct interaction with the social agent to the broad-based input of culture. The 5 systems in the Bronfenbrenner's theory, ecological theory, are microsystem, mesosystem, exosystem, macrosystem, and a chronosystem. And here in the microsystem, in ecological theory setting in which an individual lives, This context include the person's family, peers, school, neighborhood, etc. So, the key concept in the direct contact between child and his family, peers, schools, neighborhood, etc. In mesosystem in ecological theory involves linkage between microsystem. So these are the two systems explained here. Others are not explained. So what is microsystem? Microsystem is the includes which includes a person's family, child, school, neighborhood, etc. And in mesosystem, it is explained the linkage between the microsystem. So, next main heading is psychosocial changes during early adulthood. In psychosocial changes during early adulthood, there are two theories, Erik Erikson theory and Levinson theory, season of life theory. Levinson's season of life theory. So, in Erik Erikson theory, according to Erik Erikson, the socialization process consists of 8 phases, 8 stages of man. His 8 stages of man were formulated not through experimental work but through wide-ranging experiences in psychotherapy, including extensive experience with children and adolescents from low as well as upper and middle social classes. These stages are conceived in an almost architectural sense. Satisfactory learning and resolution of each crisis is necessary if the child is to manage the next subsequent one satisfactory. Some important crises of the adulthood include following. First one is intimacy versus isolation. People who have achieved intimacy are cooperative, tolerant, and accepting of difference. They can accept times of aloneness without fear or loneliness. If there is too great a sense of isolation, there will be fears of forming close ties due to fears of loss of identity and freedom. Next theory is Levinson season of life theory. Levinson sought to find a common path of change in adulthood. He was of the view that each stage began with a transition lasting about 5 years. Between transition, there are periods of 5 to 7 years that are stable, during which the person builds a life structure. So, life structure is the underlying design of a person's life. So, which includes following dreams and mentors, age 30 transition, setting down for men, continued instability for women, the social clock, close relationship, romantic love entails, selecting a mate, and components of love. First one, dreams and mentors. The more specific the dream, the more the motivating it is. In the case of dreams during adulthood, the more specific the dream, the more motivating it will be. Next is age 30 transition. Age 30 serves as time of reevaluate their life structure. They are reevaluating their life structure during age 30. In person, if the person is still single, she or he will be looking for a partner. Next is settling down for men. It means focusing of certain relationship and aspirations and leaving others behind. They try to establish a relationship in society consistent with their values, family, wealth, power, and achievement. Next is continued instability for women. Which occurs as a woman often gets sidetracked from a professional focus by childbearing and family responsibilities. Next is the social clock. The age-graded expectation that we hold for life events such as first job, getting married, having children, buying house, retirement, women who followed a feminine social clock are considered to be responsible, self-controlled, tolerant, and caring, but do seem to feel their self-esteem decline. Women who follow a masculine social clock became more dominant, sociable, independent, and intellectually effective. Women who had not followed social clock are said to be suffering from self-doubt, feeling of incompetence, and loneliness. Next is close relationship. Required finding a partner, building emotional bonds during this period. Romantic love entails finding a partner to share one's life and dreams with during this adulthood. Next is selecting a mate. Usually means finding some of similar background, age, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, and religion in places where people like that congregate. It is taking place during early adulthood. Next is components of love. The triangular theory of love suggests that three components are there in the case of love: intimacy, passion and a commitment. So these are all about Levinson's season of life theory regarding early adulthood. Next subheading. So first subheading of psychological changes during early adulthood is Erik Erikson theory. Next is Levinson seasons of life theory. Next one is uh, attachment pattern and romantic relationship. In this, we are going to discuss some types of attachment. First one is secure attachment. Those with secure attachment to a caregiver view themselves as likable, open others, comfortable with intimacy, with few fears of abandonment or intimacy. Next is avoidant attachment. Those with an avoidant attachment history had internal models heavy on independence, mistrusting partners, and anxious about people getting too close. And they are characterized by jealousy, emotional distance, little enjoyment of physical contact. Next one is resistant attachment. This includes parents who were unpredictable or unfair. These people set up intense relationship characterized by fears of abandonment. So we discussed two main headings, that is development during adulthood, psychosocial changes during early adulthood, and next is the family life cycle. In this family life cycle, we are going to discussing main points. First one is leaving home happens more often earlier ages now than in past. So first one is living home. Two, joining of families in marriage. People are waiting longer to marry now, and joining of families in marriage is the second point. Next one is traditional marriages. It involves the division of labor between husband and wife. Man's responsibilities include economic provision. Woman's responsibilities have to do with making home and providing children. So traditional marriages. Egalitarian marriages. In egalitarian marriages there is equal position for men and women. So first one is leaving home. Number two, joining of families in marriages. Third one, traditional marriages. Fourth one, egalitarian marriage. marriages. Fifth one is marital satisfaction. Sixth one is parenthood. Seventh one is advantages of having children. Eighth one is transition to parenthood. 11th one career development. Ninth point is establishing a career. 10th point is combining work and family. Next main heading is psychosocial changes during middle adulthood. We discussed about early psychosocial changes in early adulthood. Now we are going to discuss psychosocial changes during middle adulthood. In the introductory part, it is said that according to Erik Erikson theory, this is the period of generativity versus absorption. So next point is Levinson season of life. According to the Levinson season of life, this middle adulthood begins with a transition that is 40 to 45, followed by life structure 45 to 50. The structure is reevaluated at 50 to 55 and ends in culminating life structure 50 at 55 to 60. Next subheading is four developmental tasks of middle adulthood. First one is young old seeking new way of being, young and old giving up some youthful qualities that no longer seem appropriate and transforming others, finding positive meaning in change. Number two, destruction creation. They reevaluate past hurtful act. Next one is masculinity and femininity. Middle-aged people must find a way to recognize, integrate the masculine and feminine aspect of their personality. Next one is engagement and separatedness. Middle-aged people are trying to find better balance between engagement with the outside world and their interior needs. Next is some features of psychosocial changes during middle adulthood. First one is modifying the life structure. Women will tend to perceive themselves as younger than they are. That gap increase with age. Next is life structure in social context is enabled through supports in the environment. Poverty, unemployment, and a lack of personal values subverts this process. Next one is midlife crisis. Midlife crisis was cited by Levinson as people moved to middle adulthood. This is idea that adults get to certain points and question their life choices, resulting in restructuring of personality. Next subheading is stage 5 stage versus life event approach. There is controversy about whether midlife is actually the stage of development like Erik Erikson described. Many theorists just seen midlife transition, adaptation to life events, children moving out or having to move back in, parents aging, concern, retirement. Next subheading is stability and changes in self-concept and personality. It will take place during this middle adulthood. Self-acceptance, autonomy, and environmental mastery. People become more introspective and the enter second half of life. They have often made choices to change their life cycle to suit their needs. Next is coping strategies. These include finding silver lining in difficult situation, planning better ways to handle problems, and evaluate alternative to manage the situation. Gender identity shifts in response to shifting proportion of sex hormones. Women adopt more masculine traits of assertiveness and self-confidence, and men often become more sensitive, caring, and considerate during this period. So the facts, some of the facts about psychosocial changes during middle adulthood are modifying the life structure in social context, middle life crisis, stage versus life event approach, stability and changes in self-concept and personality. Sixth one is self-acceptance, autonomy and environmental mastery. Seventh one is coping strategies. Eighth one is gender identity shifts in response to shifting proportion of sex hormones. Second subheading is individual differences in personality traits. There are some other headings in this topic. They are relationship at midlife, marriage and divorce, feminization of poverty, and cause of divorce. In the relationship at midlife, empty nest, it is called as an empty nest period. This period of family life cycle is called, but it is no longer seen such negative light even for women. This period may last as long as 20 years before retirement. It also relates to establishing different relationship with children and finding relationship with in-laws and grandchildren. Next, marriage and divorce. The decisions regarding marriage or whether the divorce is making during this period, and feminization of poverty. Women usually doing the household activities, and during this period, majority of adult poverty population, they are women during this period. A cause of divorce: women who cite poor communication, husband substance abuse, husband physical and verbal abuse, or their desire for autonomy will adjust better. Next is changing. Next subheading. So first subheading is four developmental tasks of middle adulthood. Second one, individual differences in personality traits. Next subheading is changing parent-child relationship. Meaning of grandparenthood are most significant than people think until they face that transition. The gratification of grandparenthood include valued elder, immortality through descendants, and re-involvement with personal past, and indulgence. Other important factors are career development. Job training is less available to older workers, but person want to update his or her job training. It is important. Next subheading is gender and ethnicity. The glass ceiling is the unspoken, invisible barrier to advancement to women and ethnic minorities. Career changes at midlife. Employment has been serious problem during midlife, and planning for retirement. Last subheading is psychosocial changes during old age. According to Erikson theory, it is the time of ego integrity versus despair. According to Peck's theory, ego differentiation versus work role preoccupation taking place during this period. And Lebowitz theory, according to him, emotional expertise is taking place during this period. And in the subheading, stability and changes in self-concept and personality, it is said that there is agreeableness, sociability, acceptance, are the main changes taking place during old age. Next subheading is individual differences in psychological well-being. In that, it is said that there is dependency, independence. Elder suicide is not always evident. Health is strong predictor of well-being. Negative life changes occurs more often in late adulthood. Social support and social interaction. Social support reduces stress, so it promotes health and well-being and increases odds of living longer. So next heading is relationship in late adulthood. The relationships are marriage, siblings, and friendship. These are the subheadings: marriage, sibling, and friendship. Next is the retirement and leisure. Their decision to retire taking place during this period. Adjustment to retirement become major problem. Leisure activities engaged in related to physical and mental health during this period. Successful aging occurs when elders have developed many ways to minimize losses and maximize gains. So the subheadings are stability and changes, self-concept and personality, that is agreeableness, sociability and acceptance of change. Next subheading is individual differences in psychological well-being, that is dependency, independence, elder suicide not always evident, health is strong, negative life changes, social support and social interaction. Next subheading relationship in late adulthood, that is marriage, siblings and friendship. Next one is retirement and leisure. There is decision to retire depends. Affordability and health status. Next adjustment to retirement. Next leisure activities engaged in related to physical and mental health. And last successful aging.